You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today. But before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma. And it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedoghouseokc.com and follow them on Instagram at thedoghouseokc. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at Bedford's Camera today. Gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest, Mr. Shamiel Gary, who from Tulsa, played at Oklahoma State and then played a little bit in the league as well. Yep. So we'll get into that. But we connected. Shout out to Nicole connecting us a couple weeks ago. Nicole Hopkins connected us, and so yeah, with coffee and got to know each other and excited to share your full story, right? There's only so much you can share for meeting each other once. But I wanted to bring you on the podcast to talk about what you're doing now, but set some context and kind of talk about your career before you get into what you do now, which is predominantly motivational speaking and leadership roles, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about Tulsa. Were you born and raised in Tulsa?
Well, first, I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, my entire mom side is from Tulsa, Booker T, McLean, and so there's always been a long history of you go to Carver, then you go to Booker T, and then you continue that tradition. But my dad's side of the family, he's from Brooklyn, and so I love my dad and with all my heart, but it's always funny hearing them talk about Oklahomans because people on the East Coast are like, oh, these country people, right?
Yeah.
But going to New York and traveling, I get a chance to see that side of his family and seeing the difference and all that.
Yeah, that's exciting too to get to see both sides, right? Because going to Brooklyn, going to the big city versus Tulsa. I love Tulsa, but it's not.
Yeah, it's
Brooklyn,
not,
right?
It's not Brooklyn.
So growing up, brothers, sisters, big family?
I wouldn't say big, but I would say medium size. Okay. 2 brothers, 1 sister. Yeah. I'm the youngest of 4, and by a lot though. My brothers are 7 and 6 years older than me, and then my sister is 14 years older than me.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, and so the older you get, the age gap, doesn't matter anymore because you have some life experience. Yeah. But for a long period of time, I'm like the little
You're
annoying
the baby,
brother.
Right? Yeah. That's all right. I'm the eldest. I have a younger brother.
Okay.
He was annoying as shit.
Right.
Very annoying. I won't say how annoying.
Yeah.
He gets it though.
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so growing up then, were you obviously looking up to your older brothers and older sister as far as athletics as well? Like, were they very athletic too?
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed with a little bit more. I always say, you know, I talk about this when it comes to, you know, football. I feel like, or just sports in general, sometimes God just sprinkles a little bit more on people than other people. You know what I mean? And then you make up with it, you know, as far as like work ethic. But you take a guy like Julio Jones, you know, he's 6'3", can run fast, can stop on a dime.
Got it all.
I'm like, come on, man. But as far as my family, my two brothers, they played football. So I looked up to them going to the games and things like that. But they were 5'8" and 5'6", right? And they played O-lineman. And then my sister, she was more of the marching band. And so, you know, for me, I looked up to them and saw the Booker T like history, because they had like Robert Meacham, Felix Jones, all these individuals, and they would go to like state championships, and I wanted to continue that legacy.
Yeah. Was it all sports up to a certain time, or was it just kind of like football's my thing?
So baseball, basketball, football, but I had really bad anxiety. So, like, basketball, the crowd was too close to me. I got all nervous. You know, in practice, I'm hitting jumpers. In the game, I'm hitting the back of the backboard, you know? And then baseball, I didn't get contacts until probably, like, later on in high school. And so middle school, you know, I played outfield. And baseball is, you know, it's a little small thing. You got to be able to have good hand-eye coordination and be able to track the ball. And hit the ball, you know. Yeah. But I wish I would have stuck with baseball just a little bit longer. So once I got to high school, I just ran track and did football. And track, you know, I say that like mildly. Track, I stopped after my sophomore year. My coach kept having me run the 400, man. I'm like, dude,
400, right? 400, 800, like the worst to train for, right?
Man, you just laying on the ground, you're trying to like shake your legs out.
God, I do not miss any of that.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously, always athletic, kind of athletic family. Big tradition with the schools you were going to go to growing up. You kind of had like your, you know, sort of set. When then you're in high school and you start to kind of shine on the football field, do you think that, you know, college is a real thing, and does that kind of become a reality? Right.
I mean, I would say I shined first through fifth grade. Okay. You know, I always tell my story as I was like Odell Beckham, Tom Brady, first through fifth grade. Really good, scored all the touchdowns, was a key contributor. And then once you get to middle school, I faced adversity, and I like to call myself the underdog. But I would say my superpower is like the guy who was, you know, persevered and never gave up. And so I had always like a big dream of making it to the NFL in the third grade. But I get a chance to travel, and I see like, I think everyone's big dream when they're young is like to be some sports figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I want to be a professional golfer.
Right. You know what I mean? Like everyone wants to be Messi. Everyone wants to be, you know, Tiger Woods or Tom Brady or LeBron James. But when does the work and your words like match up? And I would say it probably started to match up maybe like seventh grade, right? When I started to, I'll never forget this, man. Like, so my middle brother Shannon, if he was my height, he probably would have went D1. Like, his work ethic was crazy. And we went to go run hills one day, and I said I wanted to make it to the NFL, but we were running hills, and I'm done. Like, legs tired, and he jogs back like the hills didn't affect him. I'm like, how are you jogging back right now? And I started to jog back, and he's like, I stopped. He's like, Shamiel, you a quitter. You a quitter. You a quitter. And I said to myself, I would never let him say that to me ever again. And so from that point, I started to work a little bit harder, but still I wasn't starting college, ninth grade, freshman, sophomore, JV, junior, started one game at quarterback, lost my position, and went back to JV, and then played again the last game of the season. And so, man, I was like, man, my senior year, I almost transferred to Owasso. And I just felt something in my spirit. It was like, just go ahead and stay. And so I ended up starting at linebacker, ended up playing a good portion of the season at quarterback too as well. Someone, the starting quarterback, got hurt, so it's crazy how that ended up working out. Right. Shout out to EB. He ended up going to Arkansas. He's a year younger than me. But halfway through that season, we had 8 or 9 Division I athletes on my team, and everyone was getting scholarships. And I'm like, what's the deal? And so I told myself, man, if I don't get a Division I scholarship, I'm going to the Army. I went to go take the ASVAB test. Halfway through that test, I was like, hell no. I'm not doing that. No, I'm not going to the Army. So,
and was the going in the Army decision because there's military in your family?
My uncle, he served for a very long time. My mom was in the Army. My dad was in the Army.
So you got family history.
Yeah, I got some family history. And then, necessarily at that point in time, I didn't know what else I wanted to do outside of football. So I was like, Army.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. So I went back and I just went to work, and eventually I got a scholarship to Air Force. Okay. And then my last game, state championship, got a scholarship to the University of Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And then they moved me from linebacker to safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that last game, so you think up until the last game, you think I'm going to Air Force? No. You were.
I would have took it, but
yeah, you're like, it's a back, but hopefully we get something better. Yeah. And so then you get the University of Wyoming. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's that experience like? Going out there,
right?
Like it's not close to here, right? It's a long way from Tulsa.
Yeah. Well, it was actually a blessing because, I love my mom, but and my dad. But I think I was very immature. I didn't know how to have good conflict resolution and take constructive criticism. Everything was always an attack. And, and one thing I've learned, the greatest skill that we could all have is just being coachable. Learn how to just shut up and just listen to what someone is saying, but truly listen and then reflect and be like, man, do they have a point to what they're saying?
Because they're trying to help you.
And
I think everybody struggles with that.
Yeah. Right? And so it was actually a blessing just getting away from my family. But being there, dude, here, they'll shut down school for a potential ice storm. Yeah. No.
It rained too much the other day in the morning.
Right. Shut down school. Wyoming?
Yeah.
2 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., they got the snow plows ready, and we're going to school in negative 10 degrees, snowing. Man, I remember, so it was cool because my whole goal was just to play football. So I started as a freshman, and I was walking to class one day. It was a blizzard, and my girlfriend at the time was walking behind me. I didn't know she was behind me. And I was like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home.
It's too cold.
Yeah.
Can't feel my toes.
Man, and she gave me the hardest time because she's from Fort Collins, Colorado. So it's she's used to it, right? Yeah. Man, but it was cool being able to see the country in a different way because I've been to Kansas City, Memphis, but those are places that are very similar to.
Yeah.
But I go to Wyoming, I'm like, man, there's nothing but, flat land and mountains and, elk and, all types of different things. Yeah. And it was cool just to diversify and expose myself to a new environment.
What was some of the just really great moments then of being, other than being in a different place and kind of, forcing yourself to grow a little bit, being away from home and grow up as a man too. Yeah. About just being in Wyoming, it's a beautiful part of the country, but also as perks as being on the football team that kind of go with that. Anything stand out?
Right. Man, I would say just from a football experience, it was cool. Coach Grinch, I don't know where he's at now. I think he was a defensive coordinator at USC, but he was one of the first coaches who believed in me. In high school, I had coaches who I would mess up and I'll get pulled immediately. You know what I mean? So now that's affecting my confidence and things like that. And I remember there was a battle between me and Jermichael, my freshman year going into camp. And I ended up taking over the position. And I remember spring game. I had, the spring game was a little shaky. And I'm still so traumatized from my high school career where I'm like, I'm about to lose my position. I call him. I'm like, Coach, I know I can do better, blah, blah. He was like, relax. you're good. You're our guy, and just keep on pushing through. And from that gave me confidence. In my first game in college, I caught 3 interceptions.
Oh,
Yeah. And so but I just mentioned that because just the power of someone believing in you.
Yeah, give you reassurance.
Yeah, like that goes so far. Because sometimes we're afraid to make a mistake. Because we don't want to let someone down, we don't want to be embarrassed, we don't want to take risks. But now you're limiting like your potential and what you could be based off of feelings and all that stuff. Right.
How did you feel about the position change then when you got out there?
Man, I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day about like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And I was like, hey, what do you think you have? And then they asked me, and I was like, man, I think I have a growth mindset because in every area of my life, I've been presented with things where I'm not necessarily the greatest at it, or I don't know how to do it at all. But I have a mindset where if you give me a manual to build a plane, I believe I can do it if you give me enough time. And so I play linebacker, and when he told me that, the first thing I thought in my mind was like, okay, who can help me get better at this, and how can I make it happen? YouTube University. I went on there and did a whole bunch of DB drills and went there, and I wasn't the greatest at it at first, but it got better over a period of time. Yeah. So it was uncomfortable because I'm having to guard receivers now versus being at the line and just tackle people.
Yeah. Quick.
Yeah.
Right. Changing direction,
very quick.
Rapid direction change. But also then you're keeping an eye on, like I said, you're catching interceptions. You're keeping an eye on them and where the ball at too. And then you're trying to read them to not even focus on where the ball is at because it's and it happens so fast, right? You don't figure that stuff out. So how long were you at Wyoming then before you sort of transferred?
So I was at Wyoming for a year and a half. So I did 2 football seasons, and then I ended up transferring from Wyoming to Oklahoma State in the spring.
Okay.
But I mean, that's a whole nother journey right there.
Yeah, what leads to that? I mean, were you enjoying Wyoming and then playing? You're on the team, you're starting. Like, how does that happen to think, I'm going to kind of go closer to home? Yeah, I mean, I just had some things happen at home and some things happen there. And, I was like, man, I just got to, I'm at a stage in my life where I'm more vulnerable. If I would have had the emotional regulation, emotional control, emotional stability, whatever you want to say, or emotional intelligence that I have now, I would have done things a tad bit different. You know what I mean? Hindsight is 20/20. But decided to transfer, and back then, people can transfer willy-nilly now. Yeah, a lot harder back then.
I mean, I had to go through you had to go to your coach, and they deny you. Then you got to go through an appeal process. Right? And they only allow me to go to D1 schools in a 250-mile radius of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right? So I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. Right? And so, man, they didn't give me no film.
That 250 miles gets small.
Oh, small, quick. Right. There's only North Texas, SMU. I remember TCU. Baylor. I don't even think I could go to Baylor. I think Baylor was too far. I think those 3, and then TU, OU, OSU, and I think that was it right there, right?
Maybe somewhere in Kansas.
Maybe somewhere. Yeah. And so I ended up going through the appeal. I ended up winning the appeal, and they didn't give me any film, and I also wasn't highly recruited. Yeah. And so all I did was sent out like a crap ton of emails saying like, hey, this is my accolades, this is my stats, blah, blah. Man, it got to the point. My mom would come into my room. I did everything I could. My mom would come to my room and cry. She was like, you threw your career away. I'm like, relax. Like, I just believe something's gonna happen. I just felt in my spirit something's gonna work. Yeah. I just didn't know what would, you know? And just being faithful. And so eventually I go to Oklahoma State, take a visit there, and they were like, hey, we're not gonna give you a scholarship. You can't play this year, so you have to walk on. Yeah. But it felt like home. Okay. So even though I had to pay for school, it felt right. Yeah. And so I went there, and
who was the one who kind of gave you your chance at Oklahoma State?
So probably Coach DeForest. He ended up leaving the next year, but he believed, like, he wanted me to get a, dang, what is it called? I can't think of what it's called, but you, like, where you appeal to be able to play that year.
Okay.
I forgot what that's called,
Yeah.
because you transfer for a reason,
Sure.
whatever. But he talked me up. So that was in the minds of other coaches, because in the sports world, you know this, like, people put you in a box.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they limit your potential based off of that box. And regardless of what you do,
Right.
they will keep you in that box and label you for your entire career.
This is your position. This is
You know?
Yeah.
And so because of him, it allowed me to be able to, you know, flourish the next year. And then you got guys like Coach Malone, and then, you know, Coach Duffy, and who believed in me enough to, you know, make it happen.
And kind of going on as a walk-on and taking that on as well as, like, no, I you know, I'm paying for this, but also you clearly had that feeling of inner belief as well as other people believing in you. Where did that come from? I know you've referenced kind of faith a few times now, and clearly that's a huge part of your life as well. But take me through that kind of where you were in that time of your life as far as mindset. And I know it felt right, but how do you kind of explain that going into, you know, being a walk-on athlete at Oklahoma State?
I mean, that was tough though. So I'm not gonna, you know, I like to. So I do, you know, I travel and do like motivational speaking, but I'm not one of those motivational speakers that's like, be positive, be positive. You know what I mean? Like, man, throw yourself a pity party every now and then, and but bounce back and come back from it. But it was challenging, very challenging, because you go from people knowing your name, you go from being an impact player on a team to being in a video game, and then you go to a school and you're like, you don't get a chance to go to training table. You don't get everything that scholarship players get. People don't even think you're good. You know, it's a lot of things that go through your mind, and then now you're doubting, like, did I make the right decision? Because you can't play. You're just on scout team. And it got to a point where I didn't know who I was outside of the sport. And so now I'm doing things that are outside of my character. I'm drinking and smoking and
Getting away from yourself.
Yeah, and finally got to a place where we went to the Fiesta Bowl, where, you know, this is the glory days of Oklahoma State, where Justin Blackman and Brandon Whedon, and man, the coaches told us, hey, don't smoke. Like, we're going to test you. They didn't say necessarily don't smoke. They just said, hey, we're going to test you.
We are going to test you.
Yes, when you come back. Man, I never got tested the entire year, though. So I smoked. Went there to the Fiesta Bowl. They're naming people. John, Joseph, Quinn, Shamiel. I'm like, Shamiel? And so now, man, I do the normal thing. Like, Lord, please, like, if you get me out of this.
Too late.
But I don't know what happened, but, like, I didn't get busted, and then I told myself, I was like,
that was enough of a shock.
Oh yeah, I was like, I'm gonna do something different, and I'm gonna focus and put myself in a situation where I have no regrets. And so that year was, I almost self-sabotaged my career. And so I would say I got lucky, and, you know, was blessed enough to not have that happen. And it almost gave me a new sense of purpose and urgency to take advantage.
That was the wake-up call that I guess you really needed, right? Before it was really taken away. Your mom's really going to be upset with you.
Oh, she would have cried. She would have cried.
So at what year is this that you're at Oklahoma State?
So this was, that year was 2000 and, the 11 and 12 year. That was 11 and 12 year. That's when we went to the Fiesta Bowl, I believe. And then my year I got a chance to start, man, it was horrible. Because, you know, I tell people all the time, like, especially athletes, but just people in general, don't put too much pressure on yourself to perform. Like, at the end of the day, if someone was to there's a story of someone walking on a balance beam on the ground. You walk across the balance beam, your heart's not pounding, but as soon as you put the balance beam 20 feet, 30 feet in the air, now your heart starts fluttering. But what changed? nothing really changed. Just the height, right?
Yeah.
And
The bar's still that wide.
Yeah, the bar is still
Yeah.
the same thing. You still got to do the same stuff. So just relax and understand you are in this situation for a particular reason. So don't put too much pressure on it, but also don't take it too lightly.
Yeah.
Right? Just be who you are. And so what I did was I put too much pressure on myself to perform because I'm in the Big 12 and blah blah. Dude, I was a freshman All-American. I started 2 years. Like I did all this stuff. So my junior year was up and down. And going into my senior year, they're trying to replace me. The worst thing you could ever do is look on the internet while you're playing bad. Take him back to Wyoming. He's a linebacker that's at safety. He's no good. He's slow as like I'm like, oh my gosh, they are killing me right now.
Talk about your anxiety and your doubt. All the starts circling.
Oh my
back.
God, my hands, my heart's pounding. I'm thinking like, Shameil, you are.
It's the worst place to go in social media. That sometimes. I mean, even now, like the team is not doing well at the moment, right? And even Gundy's getting it from everyone's social media, and I'm sure the team does too. And like. Yeah,
fans are killing them right now.
Yeah, it's not. We got a couple of games left, maybe by the time this goes out. 1 game left, whatever it is. Like it's not good. But it's strange to have OU and OSU bad this year.
Oh yeah. Right? Usually one of them. is good, and then but usually it's OU. Let's be honest. And people are like, that's why you guys aren't good. But now OU fans are quiet, which I'm glad. Like all you OU fans, you guys are like the Dallas Cowboys. You guys are obnoxious. Stop being obnoxious, okay? When you guys win, it's okay. Just take the win,
Yeah.
But now my timeline is like empty. Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah. These are orange for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm an Oklahoma State fan.
Come on.
So, talk about related to that then. What was Bedlam like for you?
Oh, Bedlam was incredible.
Home and away.
So home and away, yes. So away, man, we were winning that game too.
Was it the year you won away or not?
So Brandon Whedon, we won at home. So the 3 years I was there, we won at home.
Yeah.
Which was it was expected that year.
Okay.
Obviously it's Bedlam because you never know what may happen, but we just were.
Yeah.
Man, we were just loaded that year. But our junior year, man, we had a chance to win that game. We went in overtime. And my other safety D-Lo, I'm thinking he's gonna make the tackle in overtime. I'm jogging over, he misses the tackle, or the guy breaks the tackle, and then I gotta run over and try to make it
fast enough. Yeah,
man, finish.
Yeah.
That's like a word for my life this year is like just finish.
Okay.
Yeah, but then the next year I actually couldn't play in that game because if someone was to see my quad, like I have basically a missing, like a big old gap right here because I pulled my quad halfway through the season of my senior year.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was having a stellar year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was killing it until I pulled my quad and then. Yeah.
Jeez. So, how do you get the injury? Was it in training? Was it in the game?
Yeah, it was in the game. We were playing against Texas Tech, and I don't think I was as hydrated as I should have been.
Yeah.
It was a late night game in October, maybe early October.
Cold?
No, it was like humid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was humid during this period of time. Because man, I don't think it gets that cold in Tech because it's in Amarillo, which is
and it's in a bowl too, right?
Yeah,
Tech, that stadium's cool stadium.
No, it was a cool stadium. It was a blackout game, and it was a really cool game. I was going after interception, went to go jump, and I was like pop, and
just on the way up.
Okay. Yep. And so I came out, tried to go back in. I couldn't run.
Yeah.
And what I should have did going forward was like stop playing and heal. But it was my senior year, and I'm like, but yeah, I couldn't play to my full capacity until the bowl game, which was maybe 6 games later.
What bowl game was that?
The Cotton Bowl against Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah, which the refs, you guys cheated us. But,
Every Oklahoma State fan is going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
So that happens then, and then you obviously have to go into rehab.
Yep.
So you come back for the bowl game. So you don't play up until.
I play a little bit. Yeah. I'm taking like pain pills, and I'm trying to like make sure because going into the year, you know, whether this is true or not, we had a lot of seniors coming back, and I'm probably looked at as the weak spot on the defense. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's true or not, but I felt like I was.
Right.
But by the time I got to the Tech game, I'm looked at as a key contributor and an impact, you know, player on the team. And I'm having, you know, agents and workout facilities reach out to me. Man, I pop my quad. I barely had any people reach out to me. They all went away. Like,
no one's calling.
Yeah, I'm like, my phone was dry. I felt like a guy who couldn't get a date.
So up until that point, then you're thinking like, I'm going, like, I've got offers. I might be going to the Combine, whatever it is. Like, I know, get agents calling, trying to set things up for your future. Yeah. And then you get hit with adversity. Yeah. And so you just go into rehab as much as possible.
Rehab. And then I played my last game. And by the time I get to my last game, I'm probably about 90% at that point in time.
Does the phone start ringing again?
I had one guy who stuck with me.
Okay.
And I went with him. Yeah. So I had one more other person, but the guy who stuck with me, I went with him. And then I ended up going to Florida to train at Tom Shaw for my pro day. Okay. And guys that stayed and all that, but that's probably one of the few times in my life where I said, hey, this is one opportunity, and I'm not going to allow any regrets or anything. Because, you know, you go there, you think other people think like this. Yeah.
They think they got it all figured out.
They don't think like that. They're going out to party. They taking the money. Because they like what the sport can potentially get them and bring them. Mm-hmm. And me, I'm like, man, this is... Like, I only got one shot at this. Yeah. So I didn't eat any sweets. I didn't go out. I went to bed on time. I woke up early, did extra, and I probably went from like 10% body fat. I went down to like 203, 3% body fat. Wow. Yeah, I was like ripped up. Yeah. And everything, you know, worked out. Yeah. They ended up getting drafted.
What was your mindset? I mean, obviously going to that, you know, pro day, but like, what did they have you do during the pro day, and anything go well, or did they throw you off or anything?
My cleats threw me off.
Okay.
I wouldn't have I wore my 40-yard dash cleats for my change of direction. And so I was slipping on my change of direction.
Because the spikes are at the front, not the sides.
And so it just threw me off. But outside of that, everything went well. Ran the 40. One person had me at like a 4.47. The other person had me like a 4.5 flat. Okay. So I ran in, you know, a good time. Yeah. Then the DB drills. I mean, I've always had I pride myself on doing good DB drills. Okay. You know what I mean? And so
ever since the YouTube videos.
Yeah, you watch the YouTube videos, and I just kept growing from there. Yeah. You know, it was cool just being able to, after I got done having scouts, people want to come up to me and talk to me. Conversation. But it also helped. Shout out Justin Gilbert. It also helps having a guy that's getting drafted the first 10 rounds. Because now, I'm not first 10 rounds, but first 10 picks. Yeah. So now every team is looking at him. Trying to match you
guys up.
Yeah. No, not trying to match me up, but trying to just watch him and observe him.
When you're on the field. Makes sense.
So when they're observing him, I'm getting looked at as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're there to see him, but then who knows what else. Right. That makes a lot of sense. Where did he go?
He either went 7th or 9th to the Cleveland Browns. Okay.
Yeah. And so you end up going, you get drafted?
So I went undrafted to the New England Patriots. Okay. Made it through the final cuts, ended up getting cut at the end, ended up finishing my first year with the Bears, which was the Bears. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Cold in Chicago?
Oh, that wind.
Compared to Wyoming?
So Chicago is different. It's different. I didn't have to deal with the snow as much in Chicago, but that wind was cutting through all the jackets But Chicago is a beautiful city. That's probably one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been a part of.
What was your main the main thing that stood out to you as far as, you know, college to NFL difference, whether it's coaching, facility, you know?
Opportunity. Okay. You know, I would say a lot of people in the NFL are pretty talented, you know, for the most part. But in college, I get, 30, 40 reps in practice. NFL, I may get 2, and because, typically how the reps go is like starter 6, second string 4th, and then you may get 4, but you're splitting it with someone else, so you may only get 2. And so you better know what you're doing. You better run to the ball because it's about the little things, like can they trust you? Do you run to the ball? Do you punch at the ball? It's like those little things. And I realized like being a professional isn't about just making a play, but it's like, how do you carry yourself? Do you communicate? Do you run at every ball? Are you consistent? Because anyone can do it like one time, but can you do it multiple times, multiple weeks, over and over and over?
And so you go to the Bears.
Yeah.
You play at the Bears for a year?
So I was with the Bears, and that taught me, so many lessons through this journey.
Right.
But so I go there on active, because it's active practice squad. I go there on the active roster. Someone gets hurt, the linebacker gets hurt, and they move me down to practice. And probably the first 3 weeks of that, I'm throwing myself a pity party. Yeah. And I'm like upset, like, oh man, But I started seeing practice squad guys get cut. And I'm like, Shamiel, this isn't college. Yeah, this isn't college. Like, you only get one opportunity at this, so you better take advantage of it. So you get a chance to practice against, Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall and Martellus Bennett. Why not just better your game? And whenever you get your opportunity, you'll be prepared. So that's what I started to do. I started to like take things, the things that I was weak at. Every day I would come into the day with like a little note card on something that I wanted to improve at that day. Whether it was like stripping at the ball or my man or the middle of the field. And I still do that till this day. So I go into the day now with a note card, and I put the top 3 things that I want to, prioritize for that day. And then I also put like the type of mindset that I want to have for the day.
What leads you to kind of have this awareness while you're having these kind of reality checks, if you will, going through your career?
I feel like I've always been pretty aware. Okay. Like I would go into, Joanna, she's the career development. She's not that anymore, but she was a career development person at Oklahoma State. And I would go in there and just have, man, I know I'm more than a football player. Like I would have like just deep conversations. Yeah. And so I've always been pretty insightful or aware of who I am and what I want and my weaknesses. And maybe that comes from not being the best. So you have to kind of have some level of introspection to improve on the things that are hindering you. So maybe it's that. I don't know. I've never thought about why I am the way I am, but I feel like I've always
interesting, because the reason I asked was just to see if there was someone in your life that's like, oh no, I do this, and it also kind of leads back into what you do now is today, for a day job, kind of coaching and motivational side of things. But so you're practice squads, you're moving around, you have this realization, practicing, against some of the greats. Yeah.
So I finished out that year on practice squad. Next year, I guess a person could be my dad. My dad has always been that person, though. Okay. He's always been the type of person like, hey, Shamiel, like, I understand the problems, but figure out solutions to it. Yeah. And so he's always challenged. He's always like challenged me to like think. Like he's like, I don't know if he would say, grab you. Yeah. And then figure it out. I'm like, all right. And so that's always like stuck to me. Yeah. But the next year I go to the Dolphins, and I told myself this year I'm gonna run to every ball, regardless of if I'm tired or not. And I think that's what left an impression. And so that year was kind of a weird year. My mom was dealing with cancer for the past. So my rookie year, she found out she had cancer. Had surgery, went away. Second year, I go to the Dolphins, and the cancer comes back. And so, I'm playing for her and all that, and I end up hurting my shoulder, go home, and I'm with my mom for about a month and a half while I'm rehabbing. Yeah. And she ends up going to the hospital again, and I would say that's probably like the biggest blessing, because as a child, you just see your parents as this authoritative figure, you know, and you don't realize they had a life before they had you. So they had dreams, they had aspirations, they had struggles, they had fear. You know what I mean? It's like, and so when I was in the hospital with her, I got a chance to like really learn my mom as a person, not my mom as the mom.
The protector and the provider, right?
You know?
Yeah.
And so I just sat down and got a chance to like really, you know, get a deep dive into how she thought and see where some of the like the things that how she thought was passed down to me, the good and the bad, right? But my mom had surgery one more time, and I went back to the Dolphins, and I played the rest of that season, about half of that season or something like that. Play on Monday Night Football, and there's definitely a difference between like preseason games and in-season games. You like, oh man, it's not that big of a difference from college. And then you get an in-season, like, oh, okay, it's
a big difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. The speed is a lot faster, right? But it was cool because that's the first time my mom got a chance to see me play.
That's cool.
In the NFL.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part, after that season, you know, get back, my mom's in hospice, and the protector, the provider, the superhero. You know, I'm looking at her in the bed, and she's, you know, probably 120 or 100 pounds soaking wet, and she ends up, you know, passing away maybe like 2 weeks later, a week later. And that was probably like the hardest year of my life, just from the standpoint of, I don't know if this is I'm just going to say it's a me thing. I hate when people do like generalizations, like, well, men do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, I don't know. Well, what I did was I worried about other people's feelings, and I held all mine in. And you do that long enough, you know, it's going to come out in some form. Yeah. And so, I go back to the Dolphins my third year. I do everything good. You know, I'm about to make the team, and my agent says we're good. 2 minutes later, they call me back and say, hey, we need you to bring your iPad in. I called my agent. I'm like, hey, why you lie? He said, oh, man. He said, Shamiel, they decided to keep the third quarterback because typically they only keep two. They decided to keep a third quarterback and let go of you. Yeah, great. And
who was that third quarterback?
I'm not gonna say it. You know,
is he still in the league?
No, he's not. Okay. I think he was out of the league like the next year or something like that. But man, I go to the Vikings, and this is where like I started to like, you know, kind of like lose.
Yeah. What year is this?
This is 2017.
Okay.
16.
Okay. 16.
Yeah. So this is when I started to lose a little bit of fire for the game. Yeah. Because I go to the Vikings, someone gets hurt, they release me. Now I go on a marathon of workouts. Yeah. And I think a lot of people quit the NFL because they can't last. They can't, you know, stay in the game long enough to get their chance. So I go to the Jets, I go to the Ravens, I go to the Jaguars, I go to the New York Giants. I had one more workout, but I can't remember that one. And then I go back to the Patriots, and I'm with them for almost the rest of that season. I think the coolest part about that, though, you go back to the Patriots, and the guys who saw you your rookie year, they see you in your third year. And they're like, oh, Shameil, you've been working, huh? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I've been working. I've been grinding.
Yeah. Good to be back.
Yeah. And so they saw, you know, the improvement in my game and all that. I think that's probably one of the best compliments. It's like you see someone 1 year and then they don't see you again until 3-4 years later. And they're like, man, you really grown.
Because they probably see people come and go all the time. Right.
Yeah,
people come in for a year, they get hurt, or they come in or something, whatever happens, right? But like you said, to go out and go through all that adversity and travel around and do your workouts and then come back. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's like respect, right? Just keep grinding and getting after it.
Yeah. And so Bill Belichick, people think like, oh man, how's he like in person? You know, he came up to me, he said, you were gone, but not forgotten. I'm like, yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
Then he cuts me. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. They've cut in like Hall of Fame players. I've seen Tom Brady, you know, sitting in meetings, we're watching film, and they show the 3 best plays and the 3 worst plays. And the day before, Tom threw the most beautiful ball over my head. Like, I'm like watching the ball. As a safety, you probably shouldn't watch the ball. The ball, the receiver catches it. I'm thinking I'm about to get cut.
Yeah.
They show the 3 worst plays, and they show Tom throwing the ball in the dirt. And Bill's like, Tom, what is this? my third grade nephew can throw a better ball than this. I'm like, oh snaps! If he's talking to Tom like this,
right,
man, he's gonna like cut me,
light me up, yeah.
So, but no, I ended up leaving there, go to the Bills, and then when I get to the Bills, and at that point, like I say this in my speech, it felt like Floyd Mayweather, life was using me as Floyd Mayweather's punching bag. Like I just was defeated. I was done. Like you go from all these teams, and you go to this team,
all these cold places too.
Man, I never thought about that. That is true.
All these places you've named, like 90% of them freezing
Minnesota,
cold.
freezing,
Chicago, Wyoming,
freezing.
Bills.
Yeah, besides Miami, that's the only one.
Right.
Man, that's crazy.
Boston.
Yeah.
Freezing cold.
Freezing. So, but I go to the Bills, and one of the strength coaches is like, he's like, "Are you good?" And how you ever like saw someone and they look tired, and you're like, "Hey, are you good?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm good." But I felt like I was normal during that period of time. But I'm sure to him, I looked
worn out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I finished out that year. I played, I think, the last 3 games with them. And I get to the off season. I'm like, do I even want to play football anymore? And but it was because I never dealt with my emotions.
Yeah.
Like I'm holding on to stuff.
2 or 3 years now, right?
Yeah.
Carrying that stuff around. Yeah.
And you don't realize like what it does to you.
Right.
Yep. And so this is my last year going in. So I go back to the Bills with them during the off season. Everything's going well. Ended up going to training camp. At this point, I'm probably like the second string safety, starting on all the special teams.
This is 2017?
2017, yep. And so at this point, I'm actually starting to deal with my emotions. But I also think sometimes like you gotta find the right time to deal with your emotions.
Middle of the season's not the time.
Not the time. And so now I'm like dealing with my emotions. I'm like, dang, do I really want to play? Blah blah. Then I end up getting a concussion, and I had headaches for about 6 months, and I had a 5-year-old daughter at that time, and so I decided to, call it a career and transition into what I do now.
Yeah. Through kind of leading into what you do now, has that always been kind of present and always something been in the back of your mind when you maybe were having those deep conversations at OSU with some of the career people, just like, what am I going to do after football, or what am I going to do for the to have lifelong
you see how I'm looking at you,
right?
See how I'm looking at you?
Not at all. No. Like I want to play football and I want to get paid and I want to have a good time.
That's it, man. And it was always to be around football, so I was going to coach. But then you start getting like deeper into the game, and you start realizing like these coaches don't have a life.
No, they don't.
Man,
high school coaches don't really have a life.
No,
unfortunately.
And at least they don't have to deal with like recruiting and things of that nature. Yeah. Man, I had one coach at the Buffalo Bills. We were. You always hear the most like toxic speeches when you're having a bad year, right?
Right.
This coach, he was like a Hall of Fame. I mean, he won. He was a player with the Dallas Cowboys, and he won. Blah blah. But I guess he got divorced, and his speech was like, "Man, y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand the game like I do. Listen, I've been married, and I've been divorced, and I've been divorced because of football, and I'll do it again to get divorced." I'm like,
I don't want that life.
I don't want that life. You know what I mean? And
right. I want to see my kids grow up.
I'm cool on that.
Yeah.
So, but that was my dream, is like play football, then coach. I started to see like, I didn't want to be a coach because I spent a lot of time in the building, getting their treatment, all that, watching film. But they're there longer, right? And I'm like, dude, no. So you have to have a spouse that is understanding and okay with that type of lifestyle. But but I'm not. I don't want that lifestyle, right? And so I got an opportunity, which leads to, you know, kind of what I do now. Man, I got an opportunity to go to like business boot camps, go to networking events, go to events during the Super Bowl.
So that was through the NFL.
That was through the
kind
NFL.
of take care of you and say, hey.
No, that was during while I was playing though.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of these programs available to you while you're a player that sort of sets you up for life after.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's your job to take advantage of it. You always get, you know, same thing with college. I tell people all the time, you get guys that's like, college screwed me, or, you know, high school screwed me, or whatever. But there's always resources available.
Yeah.
If you take advantage of it. It's your job.
Instead of going out, go and take advantage of it a couple times.
You know what I mean? Like, you can do a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
But that's where I started to understand, like, man, I like real estate. I also enjoy writing, and I also enjoy like running a business. So I started to open my mind to this. And then going into my last year in the NFL, I did 30 free speaking engagements in my hometown. And I was garbage, like awful. Like,
but it's reps.
Yes, it was reps.
Yeah, and you need those reps. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what led me to wanting to do what I do now, which was what you're alluding to as far as like impact and legacy. And I don't know about legacy, but just impact. And so I saw the impact that I could make via speaking.
And the plan was always to kind of move back to Oklahoma, whether that was Tulsa or Oklahoma City?
That was a plan.
Okay.
But
family still here?
Family's still here. Tulsa. Probably move again at some point in time. I would love to move to a
not freezing cold place and go back to Florida.
I don't know about Florida, but I would love to live in another country for a little bit, for like a month or so, 2 months.
South America or Europe?
Somewhere in Europe.
Okay. Yeah.
About 3 months, 4 months.
Go to Spain.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, Spain, Italy, something like that. It's not that. I mean, other than travel, surprisingly, it isn't that expensive. When you're there, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Like living in the UK or living in, if you don't stay at the Ritz every night, you'll be fine. But you can rent a house for 3 months or whatever. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And the kids, if your kids are growing up and you can take them for the summer, why not? But yeah, that'd be a really cool trip to go do and take family and just like explore a little bit. And now the kids are older and they can enjoy it. You're not babysitting them around and flying 12 hours across the country to with a 6-month-old baby.
Right.
Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
So with how has that progressed then with the getting out and then into the you said did your 30 free speeches and then kind of built your business and what is your kind of what's the core business? What's your target market, and how do you add value?
Yes, I mean now I am blessed to be able to have spoken to over 100,000 individuals at schools, conferences, businesses, athletic programs. Travel to 37 of the 50 states now. Trying to get, I'm in the Finland newspaper. I've been in that one time.
Hey, there's beautiful people in Finland. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
Yes, everyone's blonde in Finland.
You said everyone's blonde?
Oh yeah, blonde hair, blue eye, tall. Yeah,
tall. That's
it's cold in there too.
See, you're trying to take me somewhere else. I'm trying to
sell you in Finland.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I have 2 children's books. Have another book that's targeted towards the Black and Brown community. And then I also do like workshops and professional development. Okay. And so my target audience is kind of broad, but the overall message for young students and student athletes is to your best ability is your availability and adaptability. So learn how to control what you can control so that you can show up each day being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And I share that message with students as well as adults, because I believe a lot of times we just get going and we get busy, and we forget to show up and do the work to show up fully available.
Yeah.
And so I talk about understanding your mission, your why, what you're doing, and then understanding the gap between where you are right now and where you want to go. And then once you figure that out, start developing your mindset. So it's like your mission, then mindset. Develop a mindset that isn't dictated on the season, right? And so a lot of times people blow with the wind. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I have a good attitude right now because of this, and then now I have a bad attitude because of this. So developing a healthy, strong mindset. The next M is like mastering your skill set. So going to work every day, being consistent. And then the last M that I put a little bit more emphasis on is maintenance. So understanding how to take care of yourself so you can show up fully available and ready to adapt to the ever-changing season, right? Yeah. And so, I talk about, understanding, go to counseling, having boundaries, having a night routine, a morning routine, checking in with yourself. Because these are all the things that I wish I would have did when I was playing, and I didn't do that thing.
I think it all add up.
Yeah.
Well, and to those M's, I think talking about your daily list, right? Like talking about maintenance and checking in, I think a lot of us get, there's all those quotes, right? You eat an elephant one bite at a time, whatever, but no one really does it. It's easy to do some man math and break it down to, every day I have to do this.
Right.
But you might do it, for a week, or, it's the end of the year. And a lot of people doing New Year's resolutions now, or thinking about planning their next year. You mentioned, this year your wood's been finished, or maybe going into next year it is, we can do it for a week, right? But it's checking in with yourself, maintaining that, and keep doing it for 365 days and seeing where you're at. And it's amazing how hard it is to focus that much.
Yes.
And go into that. And I think that's my goal next year, is to really focus on, if you're going to do this, do it.
Right.
Don't just butterfly, just squirrel. I like that. Something shiny. I want to go do that now. I'm like, no, what is your job? Your job is to sell houses. Go do that. Right. Don't go play golf. You don't make golf, as much anyway.
Right.
I'll still play golf. But you know what I mean? There's I think we're just because of our phones, we don't, it's very hard to sit and focus on every single day, right? And really give every day, even if it's just 1 hour of concentrated work every day, if you did that every year, you'd be amazed how far you go, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things I have seen, which we haven't touched on yet, is the athlete roundtable that kind of we spoke about when we had coffee, and love for you to share some about, where that is, where you see that going, and kind of the idea for that too.
Yeah, for sure. So I talk about showing up, being the best version of yourself, and then the other thing that I speak to athletes and business leaders and students about is don't be the person that coulda, woulda, shoulda maximized their opportunity. Right? A lot of people say, you hear that old saying, coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? And even though we kind of talked about the cool experiences from college and high school and the ups, the downs from the NFL, I always see places where, I could have, I would have, and I should have.
Same.
Right?
Yeah, with my golf, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we all have that, right?
Exactly.
Somewhere, anyway.
And so that's the whole goal of the Athlete Roundtable, is to help athletes maximize each opportunity, whether that be in their sport or outside their sport.
Yeah. Because
there's a small window for you to play the game, for you to maximize the resources, for you to maximize the network. And football is one of those sports. Once you're done, you're not playing football again.
Right.
Well, most people aren't doing it. You got some flag football leagues, but that's not padded football.
Yeah.
And no one that has got paid to play football is going out and playing semi-pro football. You know what I mean? I'm no knock on anyone that does that.
But you're done. You don't want to. Yeah. True.
And so there's a level of there's a hotness factor that I like to talk to athletes about. When you're playing the game, people want to be around you. People want to help you. People want to talk to you. But once you're done, it's like, oh, cool, you played, that's awesome. Yeah. But the level of them wanting to have you in for internship, or them wanting to help you, that thing is gone. Unless you built it before.
Right.
Now it goes into your transition.
Yeah.
And so that's the hope for high school and college athletes. We even have a couple 8th graders in our program to help them be exposed to new ideas, financial literacy, leadership skills, character development, mindset skills, this month we're talking about time management. People talk about, oh man, I'm so busy. No,
you're not. Let me look at your schedule. I can tell you where you're find some hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's we basically run a program that helps athletic programs, also helps individuals, and we go from August till June. We do multiple Zoom calls a month. There's PDFs, there's courses, and the whole goal is to help the individual outside of the jersey, outside of the helmet, the shoes, the golf club, whatever it is.
No, you're right, because there is going to come a time where that you need to, back to what you said, right? Once you're done, those opportunities are no longer there. You need to build those relationships, so when you are done, you don't want to be scrambling, in a place of need.
Right.
You want to, but also you're right. It's going to help you while you're playing and you're competing in your sport. How do people find that? How do people kind of reach out to you and get involved in, or even if there's parents listening that just think, I got a kid in high school who wants to get serious about where he's going and wants to reach out?
Yeah, so if they want to reach out, you Instagram me, s.gary7, or you can email me at Shamiel at theathleteroundtable.com. Or if you want to bring me in for a speaking engagement, you can Shameil at ShameilGary.com. And I can send you more information. You can sign up, and we can go from there.
Sweet. Last question, because real estate is my world, and I love hearing about people's kind of aspirations, maybe in real estate. But if you were to explain, or you were to tell me what your dream home is, explain your dream home to me.
My dream home. So my dream home is basic as can be. What I want is 100 acres of land where I can, do anything that I want to do on that land, but also be able to have like family events and things of that nature. But I would, I don't want a house that has multiple floors. I want one of those houses that, 10,000 square feet, but it's like wide, and so that's what I want. But a lot of just windows, that's why I want so much land, because you have a whole bunch of windows when people can see, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's I want one of those houses with 10,000 square feet,
like
wide.
The condominium style, like big kind of like metal building style.
Yeah. I wouldn't even mind.
Windows.
Have you seen the houses that are built into like a little hill or?
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't mind a house like that either.
Kind of like James Bond style, like built into a mountain. The Iron Man house is built into. Okay.
Yeah, so I would love a house like that.
Land.
Yeah.
100 acres, flat, no mountains, just flat. 100 acres.
I don't need mountains.
Don't need mountains. Okay.
But it would be cool when you have mountains. I'm thinking
as a
cold.
view.
Yes. Yeah. As a view, but I'm thinking cold though. Yeah. So it's like I don't know if I want to live in Colorado or something like that. But
Are you outside of football? Do you have are you into cars? Do you have any fixes? Do you collect watches? Like, what's your vices outside of football?
So I do jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah, so I enjoy.
Is that recent after you got out of football?
So I've been doing jiu-jitsu for so it's after I got out of football. So I've been doing it for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
But I was doing the normal thing. If I was a golfer, man, I'd probably golf. You know. But
I can help you with that too.
I need some help. Yeah. But I was doing like basketball once I got done playing. And I was like, man, I want to do something else. Like, I want to pick up a new skill. So I went to a jiu-jitsu class, and I had a small person took me out, and I was like, man, I got to learn this. If they can do it, extremely. And I get humbled, every day. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I drive back in my car and listen to, ride back in silence, because I'm thinking like, wow, that happened to me today.
Jiu-jitsu then.
Yeah. All
right. So jiu-jitsu is your go-to, your vice, your...
Yeah. Or drinking wine. I like some good wine. I've been into beer here lately, like just trying new beer.
There's plenty of it here. Loads of different types, loads of different breweries here.
I'm not really a hoppy.
Same.
That's not my thing.
I'm a light beer guy for sure, or a Pilsner or a lager type person. Like I understand it, because I just love the passion that people have for a product or for wine, a beer, golf, whatever their passion is. Like, there is a lot of people here who have a passion for breweries. It's just, I can't get over that taste.
No, it's too much. It's too much. It's the same thing with some wine that's like too bitter. Or I like smooth. if I drink anything. So
Yeah.
beer or wine, smooth.
What's been your latest favorite beer?
The mango cart.
Okay.
That's been my here
From where?
lately. You get it at the Industry.
Yeah.
And there's somewhere else, but I've only seen it at either you buy it at the store or the Industry. That's the only place I've seen it.
All right, I have to try that one.
Yeah.
Cool. So, dream home, 100 acres.
100 acres.
A lot of windows. 10,000 square foot barn.
Maybe even
Figure
built
it
into
out.
maybe even built into a mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bond style. Love that.
Yeah.
Well, mate, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so
Yes,
much
sir.
for coming in.
And I
It's
appreciate
awesome.
you.
For people listening, I'll put the link to all your website, social media, and people can reach out if they want to kind of have you come speak or be involved in the Athlete Roundtable. I think it's a huge value. And yeah, thanks for Nicole for connecting us because Nicole's great, does awesome things, and we've been friends for a while. And then she texted me, she's like, "You need to meet this guy." I'm like, "Great!" And now we're here today. So shout out to Nicole. Thanks for connecting us, and for people listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.